The hidden cost of saving and how to start investing without risking everything. There is a silent paradox affecting millions of people. The more they save, the poorer they become. Not in the obvious sense. Their bank balance grows, the numbers go up, and on paper, everything seems to be going well. But beneath the surface, something different is happening. Purchasing power is slowly being eroded. Inflation advances year after year, and time, the most valuable resource in finance, slips away unused. Saving without investing is not prudence. It is stagnation with a reassuring facade. And the biggest problem is that no one tells you this openly. Banks do not call you to say that you are losing purchasing power. Your colleagues do not talk about their portfolios over dinner. And so, most people keep doing the right thing, putting money aside, without realizing that on its own, that right thing is not enough. In this video, we will look at exactly why that is, and more importantly, what to do instead. But before we talk about solutions, we need to truly understand the problem. And to do that, we need to look at the numbers, the ones banks would rather not show you. The problem with pure saving. Let's start with the numbers, because numbers do not lie. The traditional banking system typically offers between 0.5% and 1% per year on savings accounts. Historical inflation in Europe tends to hover around 2 to 3% per year. This means that every year your money sits idle in a current account, its real value falls. Not dramatically perhaps, but steadily, silently, and relentlessly. Let's take a concrete example. You have $20,000 in the bank. With inflation at 2.5%, after 10 years, that $20,000 will have purchasing power equivalent to roughly $15,600 today. You have not lost money nominally, but you have lost real purchasing power. And over the long term, that difference is enormous. Yet most people continue to do exactly this. Why? Not because they lack intelligence, but because of a very specific psychological mechanism. Saving feels safe because it is visible, measurable, and stable. Investing feels risky because it involves uncertainty. And the human brain, from an evolutionary perspective, prefers certainty to potential growth. It is a survival instinct that works against us in finance. Now that we have seen what happens when money remains idle, it is time to understand what happens when you put it to work. And the numbers, believe me, change dramatically. The difference time makes. Now I want to show you what happens when, instead of simply preserving your money, you put it to work. Let's take two scenarios. Same person, same starting point, $10,000. Scenario A, the money stays in a savings account, earning 1% per year. After 20 years, you have around $12,200. You have earned $2,200 over 2 decades. Scenario B, the same capital is invested in a diversified portfolio tracking global equity indices with a historical average return of around 8% per year. After 20 years, you have around $46,600, almost 5 times as much. Same person, same initial capital, same time horizon. 2 completely different outcomes. The variable that makes the difference is not income, luck, or having a special financial advisor. It is compounding, the mechanism through which returns generate further returns, creating a cycle that multiplies over time. According to legend, Einstein called it the 8th wonder of the world. We do not know whether he actually said it, but the mathematics behind it is indisputable. The more time you give compounding to work, the more powerful it becomes. And that is why starting early matters infinitely more than starting with a large amount. The numbers are clear.
The logic is sound, and yet the vast majority of people do not invest. Why? The answer is not technical, it is deeply human, and understanding it is the first step towards overcoming it.
Why people do not invest. But if the numbers are so clear, why do so few people take the step? There are three main barriers, and each one deserves to be dismantled. The first is the fear of losing money. What if the markets crash? Is the question that stops more people than any other. And it is a legitimate fear, because markets really do crash. They did so in 2000, in 2008, and in 2020. But here is what financial media rarely tell you. Every time the markets recovered, and those who stayed the course during crises ultimately achieved better returns than those who exited in panic. The second barrier is perceived complexity. "I do not understand enough about finance to invest," is something I hear often. And I understand where it comes from. The investment world has technical language, complex products, and advisors who use incomprehensible terms. But the reality is that the most effective strategies for a private investor are also the simplest. We will come back to this shortly. The third barrier is waiting for the perfect moment. "I will wait until the market falls a little," or "I will wait until I have more money." This is probably the most expensive of the three, because the perfect moment does not exist, and every year spent waiting is a year of lost compounding that can never be fully recovered. Now that we have dismantled the psychological barriers, we can finally move on to the practical part. Because knowing why people do not invest is useful, but it is not enough. What you need is a concrete, step-by-step path, and that is exactly what we will look at now. The 5-stage path. Let's move on to the practical part. Here is a structured 5-stage path for those starting from zero or almost zero. Stage 1. Build a solid cash foundation. Before investing a single euro, you need a reserve equivalent to 3 to 6 months of essential expenses: rent, food, bills, transport. This money is not meant to grow, it is meant to protect you. Without this reserve, any investment becomes fragile, because at the first unexpected event, a medical expense, job loss, a car repair, you would be forced to sell your investments at the wrong time, often at a loss. An emergency fund is what allows your investments to work without being disrupted by real life. Once your safety base is solid, the next step is not opening a trading account. It is something more subtle and often underestimated. Stage 2. Mentally redefine the role of money. Not all money has the same job. This is a simple but transformative concept. The cash in your account is there to protect you. Your investments are there to grow you over time. Confusing the two, thinking of investments as a reserve you can dip into, or treating your current account like a portfolio, creates anxiety and leads to poor decisions. Building clear mental compartments, security on one side, growth on the other, drastically reduces the emotional pressure that causes people to sell at the worst possible moments. With the right mindset, even your first investment stops feeling like a leap into the unknown. And the good news is that you do not need to wait until you have a large amount of capital to begin. Stage 3. Start with small amounts, but start. The most common mistake is not investing badly. It is not starting at all, while waiting for the right moment or until you have enough money. Most modern investment platforms allow you to start with 50 euros or 100 euros per month. The goal at this stage is not performance. It is to build a habit. It is to learn how to live with market volatility without panicking. It is to develop the discipline that over the long term is worth more than any sophisticated strategy. But once you have decided to start, the most common question arises: what should you invest in? And here, contrary to what you might think, the most effective answer is also the simplest. Stage 4. Prioritize simplicity. This is where many beginners make a typical mistake. They look for complexity because they assume it equals effectiveness. They jump into intraday trading, options, speculative cryptocurrencies, and structured products, often with disappointing results. The reality is that the simplest strategies tend to outperform complex ones over the long term, and the most suitable instrument for most private investors is probably the ETF tracking global indices. An ETF, exchange-traded fund, is a fund that passively replicates the performance of a market index, such as the American S&P 500 or the global MSCI World. Instead of trying to guess which company will grow the most, you invest in hundreds or thousands of companies at the same time. Automatic diversification, minimal management costs, full transparency, and immediate liquidity. It is the instrument Warren Buffett has publicly recommended for most non-professional investors. You have the right instrument, you have the right mindset, but there is still one element that separates those who achieve results from those who do not, and it is perhaps the hardest to maintain over time. Stage 5. Discipline matters more than timing. This is probably the most important lesson and the least popular one, because it sounds obvious, but the data confirms it overwhelmingly. Consider this scenario. You invest $300 per month for 25 years, with an average annual return of 8%. By the end of the journey, you have around $285,000. Of that, only $90,000 comes from your contributions. The remaining $195,000, almost 70% of the total, is the pure result of compounding. But this outcome depends on one essential condition: consistency. Those who stop contributing during a market correction, even for just a few months, lose the benefit of buying units at lower prices. Those who exit completely during a crash often never re-enter at the right time. Discipline is not an accessory to an investment strategy, it is the strategy. And speaking of crashes, it is time to address directly the question many people ask themselves but few ask out loud. What happens when the market really crashes? How should you behave when everything seems to be falling apart? Managing volatility. Financial markets correct regularly. On average, a correction of 10% or more happens roughly once a year. A fall of 20%, technically defined as a bear market, occurs roughly every 3 to 4 years, and more severe crashes, such as the one in 2008 to 2009, are rare events but certainly possible. How do you manage them? With 3 tools. The first is time perspective. If your investment horizon is 15-20 years, a 30% crash today is irrelevant to your final objective. Historically, markets have always recovered, often more quickly than people expected during moments of panic. The second is diversification. Do not concentrate everything in a single country, sector, or instrument. A globally diversified portfolio absorbs shocks better than any single bet, however strongly you believe in it. The third is the rule of conscious inaction. During crashes, the hardest and most profitable thing to do is nothing, or rather, to keep investing systematically, buying more units at lower prices. Those who continued investing during the 2020 pandemic-related crash then benefited from one of the fastest rebounds in market history. You now have all the tools. You have the numbers, the method, and the emotional management. There is only one thing left to do: bring it all together and understand how to put it into practice, starting today. Let's recap the path. First, build a cash reserve covering 3 to 6 months of expenses. Then, mentally separate the function of protection from the function of growth. Start investing with small but regular amounts. Choose simple, diversified instruments, such as ETFs tracking global indices. And finally, remain disciplined over time, especially when markets become volatile. The truth many people learn too late is this: saving gives you stability, investing gives you freedom. They are not in competition, they complement each other. Saving builds the foundations, investing builds the house. And the most important thing you can do for your financial future is not to choose the perfect instrument or find the ideal moment. It is to start with what you have now. If you are still in the pure saving phase, the question is not whether you should start investing, it is why you have not started yet. And almost always the answer is one of the 3 fears we discussed today. Have you already identified yours? Write it in the comments. That is where real change begins. If you found this video useful, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Next week, we'll talk about how to build your first ETF portfolio from scratch, step by step, without complications.